Okay. Here we are at the North Shore Art Association. Why don't you introduce yourself for the folks?
My name is Bruce Turner, and live in Rockport, have a gallery there. Marilyn and I been together there over there for about, what, 10 years, Marilyn?
Yeah.
And so we're back together again here, kind of sharing walls. So
Sharon and Wall at the North Shore Art Association. Now, this is what is there a name for this particular room?
it's called the Gordon Grant Room, named after a well-known watercolor painter and etcher, and I guess etchings, yeah.
Yeah, and they do how many? Do you know how many exhibits they do here in the summer?
We actually just started this a couple of years ago. Started doing membership solo shows and two-person shows, that type of thing.
Yeah.
In this room, so it's been pretty sought after as a place to exhibit.
Well, if your work is shown here, this is the cream of the crop, right here.
We think so.
So how did you begin your painting career? And did you start in Rockport or did you come from someplace else?
Well, I was living in Worcester, Massachusetts, and I started painting about 3-4 years before I moved to Rockport. And I started painting, and I was buying my art supplies and painting. So I was working a night shift as a printer, and got to a point where I don't know what you do with these things after you paint them. So I saw an ad about an art show in Putnam, Connecticut. So I looked into it and went to the art show. I thought I was the only one buying the art supplies, but I found out there was other people that actually bought them too. And in that show there was probably 100 artists, and I gathered paintings that I had sold to some of the people I work with for $25, $35, and I gathered them together just to get a reaction from the public and the judges that were judging the show. In fact, they had no way to display them. I leaned up against the building and had to call a jury over to take a look at them, and they said, "Oh, very nice," and continued on the way. Well, actually, 3 years later, I was actually one of the jurors myself at the same show.
Wow.
But from that show, I talked to a number of artists, and they said, I asked if there was any other shows like this. So they mentioned one in Wickford, Rhode Island, and one here and there, one there. So got in contact with the people, got involved in it, and I would come home after work at 11 o'clock at night and I'd paint till 3 in the morning. And I did that all week. I'd come up with my one painting.
Now here's a question for you.
Sure.
You're painting at 3 o'clock in the morning. What kind of light do you have? Or what?
I'm working a fluorescent light. I'm not a plein air painter.
No, but you're painting from photographs? Or
mostly imagination.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm working with photographs when I'm putting 2 or 3 things together and kind of moving the rocks around and that type of thing.
Jeez.
When I'm showing up with these art shows, most people have 20, 30 paintings. I have one. So people say, well, where's the rest of your paintings? And basically I was sold out. So
wow.
from from people I work with and that type of thing. So I would show up at a newfound show the next week with another painting. All the other artists will say, "Here comes Turner with his painting." I says, "Don't worry, guys, I won't be here long," And I would end up selling my paintings. So
Yeah.
but I did that for about 3 years, and I was kind of burning the candle at both ends. So he says, "Well, maybe I was starting to sell pretty good. I was starting to win a fair amount of awards out there." And I says, "Well, maybe I should think of trying to make a gallery or something, put a gallery together." So looked around, was up to Maine, and came up to Rockport because I remember coming here as a child, going walking Good Beach and looking up at that big house, and it had a porch around it all at that time. But that house looked pretty big to me.
Yeah.
But I says, "Yeah, let's go up there and check that out." So I ended up sharing a gallery with a fellow named Richard Gibney, and that was at 27 Mount Pleasant Street next to the Blacksmith Shop restaurant, and ended up being there for 19 years. So,
wow.
In fact, there's a painting over here. See you later. I parked on Atlantic Avenue for 19 years, so I got very familiar with the scene. So I almost didn't have to look at anything to paint it from,
Yeah.
But this actually was done from the motif #1, from a photograph, that particular one, the bigger pieces here. But So I moved to Rockport. I was mostly interested in painting the ocean. There's something about the ocean just caught my imagination as to the movement and the sense of drama to it and all that type of thing. So.
Guy from Worcester comes out and falls in love with the ocean,
Yeah.
and goes to Rockport.
So you could have more of it. So
Yeah.
That's what happened.
There you go.
And I painted the water. And if you look around at all the paintings there, you'll see water there, still there somewhere. And being used to painting a moving subject, in a way, I got very familiar. I get down on the beach and I paint people on the beach, and people would sit there and say, "How do you want me to pose?" I said, "Nah, just keep on, come back and forth the way you usually do it. I'll catch you on the wing," type of thing. In that sense, you get a little sense of spontaneity too. You have a little bit of movement to it and not so stiff. So,
there you go. Very cool. So why don't we talk about a few of your paintings? And
as you notice here, this is one up in Maine. This is in Thomaston, Maine. It's the St. George River, and it comes down from about the Belfast area, and it flows up from Cushing and Port Clyde area. It comes out around Port Clyde and Friendship in that area, and where for salt water and the freshwater merge together. This happens to be a little marina. It's just down the bottom of the hill from the center of Thomaston.
I'm looking at the clouds, and Jesus, they're
Actually,
so beautiful.
The clouds in this particular situation, there was nothing in the sky, but I wanted this low horizon, so I had to actually kind of make up these clouds. And I worked 3 times longer working on these clouds than I did all this other information that was there for me to paint.
Right.
So,
there you go.
in that aspect, it's a lot of fun. So.
Yeah.
So I change the colors of some buildings. Sometimes I change the colors of, say, one umbrella from another umbrella or something, and change people's bathing suits sometimes actually in the color, just so I feel it works better as where I want your eye to go or draw the attention to. And see, here's a combination of where I've gone from working with people on the beach and with the old information knowledge I had of painting the ocean. So it's a combination of those two things.
Classic right there. Beautiful.
And for the first 12 years, on the right-hand side here, you see the type of thing you would come in and I'd have like 20 paintings hanging of all different times a day and distances from the water and times a year and all that type of thing of the ocean. In fact, Emil Groupie came in to my gallery one time and he stood at the doorway and he hung on to it and he says, "Give me some Dramamine."
Right, because the ocean.
Yeah.
That's
But he
funny.
used to paint in front of the gallery all the time. We would chat. He would come in. He would give me a tip or something like that. And he said, "Boy, you like blue?" I said, "Well, it's kind of the color of the ocean." You know, not all the time. So, that's true. He said, "Hey, I want to show you something." I said, "You got something here? I just want to show you something." So he takes some rose madder and ultramarine, mixes purpley wash, and he washes over the surface of the painting. He said, "Oh, see how warm up?" And I says, yeah. Well, maybe not that much." Pulls it back a little bit, but he made a point, though,
Right.
not to have them all the same color, that type of thing. So.
Very cool.
And this one's kind of a historic painting here with the old Madras shop here, which has now been torn down, and now we have the Rockport Music there, which comes out a little further. It's a little taller. It's quite a building. It's quite nice inside. Here we are back at Woodharbor Beach again, looking to the north.
Oh, your paintings are all different sizes.
This is a little cooler day. You notice people aren't in the water, just walking on the shoreline.
Yeah.
So it's when I'm doing my figures, I try to get like one half of the person, the other half will. First half will tell me what the other half wants to happen, basically, the light and the dark.
Now, were you what did you have for training when you started?
Well, I
painting?
went to the Worcester Art Museum school while I was working as a printer, and they were doing all pop art and hop art. I was taking drawing classes, figure classes, But I was looking at the senior class. I was thinking of maybe enrolling or something, and then it was all pop art and op art with masking tape. It was very effective, very nice, but I couldn't see any personality in the work. And I says, I don't know. To me, it looks like a one-person show, and I'd have to ask you, where's your piece? Because to me, they kind of all were in that same school of thought. Well done, but to me, it's not where I wanted to head. So I realized that I was just going to have to paint. Back then, there wasn't that many workshops going on, all this type of thing that we have today. So people don't realize how much information they can have today compared to what it was.
Yeah. I wonder if that's the reason why, like, you know, places like Rockport and Gloucester with the huge art community, that people flocked together to share ideas and stuff like that. Or do you think it was more of the landscape that we had here in the industry and the short, you know, the what they had to paint, you know, between the
Well, I think people are attracted to Rockport because of its history and because of the quality of subject matter that there is to paint from here. It's just a little different than most people where they come from. So.
Yeah.
And you can. It seems like I've been here 40 years, and the longer I'm here, it seems the more I see, because you start looking at things a little different.
Slow down a little bit.
Yeah, you just start seeing things a little different. You start seeing color a different way.
Yeah.
You start seeing concepts a little different way. So if you can go back to the same thing you painted 40 years ago and try doing a different version of that same subject matter, you'll find yourself find it very interesting.
Yeah, one of my contributors on the blog, his name is Paul Frontiero Jr., and he was just telling me yesterday that all summer long, all he's been doing is been painting this same shack in his backyard in different ways.
Yeah, well, that's what Monet did with his haystacks.
Yeah.
Different time of day, different lighting, different, experimenting with the color and all that. Concepts.
I love this one right here with the lobster boat in the background, the activity, and then
yeah, this was a note that I added to it. You know, they're here and there around in the winter times of doing things, but I needed something right in between that two opening. Think of it without it.
Right.
And it's actually what got me to this painting was actually this tree, the way it when it turned and everything was kind of leading in towards the middle there. If you notice, the birds kind of fly out of the tree down to in between the opening.
Right, yeah.
In his gallery where Marilyn and I shared some time here.
Aha, there it is. Very appropriate
and
piece.
You see the abstraction of the shape in there, so you carry here, you know, it's actually was the Adventure schooner was a 30 by 30 painting, and it's just the surface of the wharf. There was a gathering, it was a fundraiser on the deck of the ship, that's what it was. I was in the back of the pilot house there in downtown, the harbor masters, looking down, painting, you know, doing the painting there. And as the people started coming onto the deck of the ship, it started filling up, you know, it was like the jelly beans. All of a sudden it didn't look like a ship anymore. I just could quit putting people on the deck. Losing the confirmation of the shape of the ship itself.
Wow.
So, excuse me. But this is probably at this point, it's probably the most architecture I painted up to this point. It was, it's a lot of information for me a lot of straight lines.
Yeah.
I'm used to painting the ocean. There's not too many straight lines.
Yeah. You can kind of
moving ocean.
Right. You can make what you want to do, right? Yeah.
Here's that famous motif number 1, and it's always, you know, it's not the motif stays kind of the same. In fact, the first one went down in '78, saw him there, and the water got up so high, and then it just kind of fell over. But and I actually got some of the wood that was floating around, and I made some frames.
Wow.
For it. I made a couple of paintings, but I still have some wood left. I still have some frames left to eventually do some paintings for it. But you know, the harbor is what's around it it makes it interesting. It's always changing somewhat. And here, this is a recent painting here that I was just back from a plein air painting session with a group of a North Bennington competition. It was like 25 artists involved in this particular four-day paint thing, and then they have a show at the end of the show. This is I should give him a name like Oscar or something.
We call them. We have a feature on my blog called "What Up, Homie." It's always a picture of a seagull, and it has some kind of a saying something like try and base it off of his expression. But yeah,
this happened to be from a commission that I got. This woman come in, asked me if I would do a painting of a seagull. I said, I don't know, I guess so. She's all about so big. I said, so she's not telling me how to paint him or anything like that. She says, just a seagull by himself. She says, all right, when do you need it? So she's a couple of weeks. I said, okay, I guess I can do that. So I did one of the seagull sitting in the sand, reflections of a rock in the water and that type of thing. It's very simple. And then I made up this background here. And so my wife called. She says, you got two options. Go on. Because she came up with the title, Cape Ann Gull. I said, yeah, that gives me a pretty good spectrum of where I can paint, I guess. So I kind of made up this background. But the key to this painting is the title. And the title of the painting is Rockport Shoes. Can you see that?
Rockport Shoes?
Yeah. Rockport Shoes. See the color of the motif number 1?
Yeah.
And look at his shoes, see? His feet.
Ah, very good. Very nice.
Look at the Rockport Shoe Company, see?
Very nice.
Get a little daffy down But anyways, you got to have fun with some things. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And this is over here in Easton Point. It's your first house on the left, looking across there.
Oh, my Lord, beautiful.
And this is over in Magnolia. I'm trying to think. And this young lady, I call her young lady, same age as me, maybe a little younger. But anyways, she took a workshop with me up on Monhegan Island. And before breakfast, I was half awake by the time we got started. But she had already run down to the bottom of the cliffs, run up over the cliffs and back again before breakfast. I said, we could just sell. I mean, I'd have to call the medics or something. Halfway doing that. But anyway, she cuts all this grass herself, all this lawn, and it's on the side of a hill. It's no wonder she stays so thin, you know. Beautiful area. Then we get over to here. This is kind of some of my beach-related people. I like to have them doing different things. We call this one Beach Conversation. And
that's one hell of an umbrella. That's a big old umbrella right there.
Yeah, well, they get a little span on it. I like to change the colors.
Beautiful.
Now, these small seascapes, to me, these small pieces, to me, they're harder to do than the big ones. The big ones, the room kind of gives you everything you need to help you do the subject matter. But when you get involved in the movement and the rhythm and the whole thing, it's getting it all in. That little condensation is kind of hard.
Poses some difficulty. Yeah, I imagine, because you have to tell a story, and you have a small space to tell it, right?
Well, to me, it's the whole rhythm and the whole continual flow of the subject matter. And, I want to say you can almost hear what's going on.
Yeah.
This is Strait Smith Island. I actually started this painting with my grandchildren. And my kids are out back from Seattle here for the 4th of July week, like they usually come. Excuse me. And so I set up, because we could look down to the Strait Smith Island where they were staying. So I actually have a picture of my coffee mug of them watching me paint it, you know.
Very cool.
So
here you have
and here we are on Atlantic Avenue, where I parked for 19, 20 years, right along here. And
wow. How long does it take to do a painting like that?
Well, I worked it off and on, you know, a couple of months between. Sometimes I have 10, 15 paintings going on.